Alright, quick unbox and overview, and then we'll be heading down to the range with this big guy here. DiscoveryOpt ED-PRS Gen 2 5 to 25 by 56 SFIR FFPZ. It's got a 34mm tube and it is an MRAD. So let's see if I can get this opened up without knocking the camera over here and show you what's inside. I thought this was, I hadn't pulled anything out yet, I just pulled the cover off to look. I thought this was a real nice packaging. This is real thick, sturdy foam here. So obviously we got some paperwork here, instructions and whatnot. This looks like yeah, an inspection sheet. That looks like the screen wipe. Yep. And there's all kinds of goodies in here. It does come with the rings. If I can, well, there's a little finger slot. Everything, everything is like super compact fit in here. Like it ain't gonna rattle. You could shake this thing. Everything's a super nice tight fit. There we go. Okay, those are the rings. So it comes with the rings, as I said. We got a cap here. There's one of them at least. Obviously your scope's down in here. I'll pull that out and set this aside. Try to get the rest of this stuff out. There goes the sunshade right here. Let's see what's in here. I seen this in the picture. I was trying to see what the heck this thing was. Okay, it's a little brush. That's pretty cool. Okay, that was it for that. What's this here? Okay, there's your throw lever. And now this was the hardest thing to get out. I'm going to have to bring it back here and tap it out. Alright, that's that little leveler key there. I'll probably show you how this works. It just basically slides under the scope on the flat base on the bottom of the scope to bring your scope level, and then you can tighten it down instead of trying to guess, you know, is it perfectly level or not. That's what this is for. And then there is this massive thing. I'll throw up some stats here somewhere on the screen. There's the other cap attached to the front. And this is a big boy. She's pretty heavy too. They advertise this as being for long range or competition use. Re-zeroable, but it also has a zero stop. These do not appear to be locking turrets. I can't get them to pop up and down, but that's where your zero stop comes in anyways. You know, you just put it on zero and have your zero stop set to whatever. So that basically locks it for you there. These dials, I really like them, but they are absolutely massive, man. Good audible feedback and it feels great. They advertise this as being within 1% variance. No more than a 1% variance. I'm forgetting the correct terminology, but so very tight tolerances for something in this price range. It does have center illuminated reticle. Oh, there's your parallax setting here on the side. And I'm really liking these. It's almost like Braille, if I said that correctly. These get real good texturing there to grab all these dials with. And that would be for your illumination. And I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check to see if there's already a battery in there or if it comes with one. I don't recall seeing one in the box there. And this has the Japanese ED glass as well. So should give a pretty clear, crisp image all the way out there, 1,000 yards. And obviously she's nitrogen purged and fog proof, waterproof. There's the adjustment dial there. Seems pretty smooth. I mean, it's a little stiff, but it is new. So usually these things, yeah, it's already gotten a little looser there. So, and then of course here's your diopter for your fast focus eyepiece there. Interestingly, there's this little rubber cap. There we go, for the back there. So I guess you can use the flip up cap here or you can just pop this little rubberish cap over the back if you want. And right here's where your battery would go for the illumination, which I do not see an included battery. So that's where your battery would go for the illumination. Alright, well here it is mounted up on my OT6, and you guys might notice immediately this pretty large gap here. So it comes with pretty tall scope mounts here, but this is on a 20 MOA riser base. You know, it cants the scope down. It's for longer range shooting and whatnot. So if I didn't have this on here, it would sit a little bit lower. But I think they give you these high mounts so it'll clear on any gun no matter what. Now, because this is like a hunting style rifle, it's got this big gap. Plus, like I said, because of my MOA riser there, it's bringing it up a little higher than what it would otherwise be. But if you put this on, like, say, an AR, like an AR-10 or something like that, your barrel and the rest of the, especially if you have a full-length rail, it'll still be as high as the rest of this rail. Okay, so if you have like a full-length rail system on an AR-10, it's going to stay this height all the way out. So you can see how that would actually be pretty close to the bottom of the scope there if this was on an AR-10 platform with a full-length rail. So I do believe that's why they provide you with these high mounts here, so that it'll clear on something like that. But on a hunting style rifle like this, especially since I have this riser here that brings it up even higher, I do have this pretty large gap. So if I was going to keep it on this rifle, then I would just want to get some lower mount rings there to bring it a little bit lower down. So I just wanted to go ahead and point that out now. So yes, I know it's mounted up there pretty high, and I know I'm going to get freaking comments on it, especially for people that skip past this part of the video and go straight to the shooting. They're going to be like, what the heck? Why is it mounted so high? So for those of you that actually paid attention to get educated, that's why there's this huge gap. I'm not worried about that aspect of it, just so we can go out and do the review. Which, by the way, speaking of the ring mounts, I actually rather like these. I think they're pretty decent quality for the price. They're pretty oversized to fit this, large scope. So they're nice and thick and well built. I didn't have any problems with the hardware, like feeling like it was gritty or dragging or anything like that. Everything tightened up nicely. The included Allen wrench here fits real nice and snug. There's no real play on that, so that's nice. And it's cool they include extra screws for you there too, just in case. So I'm actually really impressed with their mounts. And then here is that leveling thing I was talking about. So you actually put it in this little ramp here. You can see it fits in that slot, and then it kind of ramps it up. So you'll slide that against your rail there, and then you just push this guy through in that orientation, and it'll slide up that ramp. It's kind of hard for me to do one-handed, so let me pause you here and I'll show you what it looks like all set up. Alright, and sorry about the low lighting here. I'll try to edit the video so you can see it better. But you situate that little ramp there, and then you slide that through it, and it pushes it up against the flat base of the scope. But that's that, so we'll head down to the range now and try her out. So here I am working on getting it sighted in down here at 100 yards. And I'm actually going for about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches high, because that's what I need zeroed for. For the ammunition I was using to have a 200 yard zero, which is what I wanted and what I was going for. But currently I'm shooting 100 yards, so I got to place the shots a little high above the bullseye. But anyways, it was a pretty cold day. It was about 35 degrees Fahrenheit when I arrived, and only warmed up to about 38 when I left. On top of that, there was a light breeze, and I was not wearing gloves, so my fingers were absolutely freezing, and it just kept getting worse throughout the day. So that was affecting my shooting a little bit. Normally I can shoot 1/2 inch groups at 100 yards with this gun, but today I was only averaging about 1 inch due to the freezing fingers. So here we are. This is the range, and starting at the first mound, which is 200 yards, every mound thereafter is an extra 100 yards, clear out to 700, and then it skips from 700 to 1,000, clear back at all those little white squares you can see up there on the hillside. That is 1,000 yards. And I don't think I mentioned it yet, but I'm shooting a Savage 110 chambered in 25-06. I'm using the Hornady ELDX precision hunter load with a 110 grain ballistic tip bullet, and that 110 has a custom shawl barrel, heavy barrel with a 1 in 10 twist and a Boyd's stock. Just starting at 200 yards here and working my way out.
I'll aim low.
By the way, every one of these targets is a 12-inch by 12-inch square, so not a very big target to be aiming at these longer ranges here.
I'll aim middle.
Okay, next time we come out, we'll have a shotgun with all the different types of. I'm going down there to see what they do. Everything that you can do, bro?
So we found that. So, this is your target.
Now, I did take just a few shots out here at 1,000. I'll throw that footage in at the end here in just a second. But I want you guys to check out this reticle first of this scope at different ranges out here. So here's at the minimum magnification of 5x at 200 yards. I want you to keep in mind that it's really difficult to get these images through the scope with my camera, and it looks much better, much more clear, crisp, sharp, all the above in person. So keep that in mind looking at these images. But with that said, these look pretty freaking good considering it's a real struggle to get these images through the scope with a camera. But here's that same 200 yards on maximum magnification of 25x, plus you can see the illuminated reticle there. People always ask me when I do scope reviews with illuminated reticles whether they are daytime bright or not, and well, right there you go, you can see it's daytime bright. It was a little overcast, but I actually used a repurposed battery, and it was one that came with another scope, so just a cheap little battery that had already had some use on it, and like I said, the weather was really cold this day, so put in a fresh, good name brand battery, and I'm sure it would be even brighter than that in daylight. So here's 5x on the 600 yard mound, and there's 25x on the same 600 yard mound, 1000 on 5x, and then 1000 on 25x, and again that's a 12 by 12 inch square down there. Also, by the way, the parallax setting worked fantastic all day. Every distance I set it on, for each target I reached out to, it worked perfectly. I didn't have any parallax, and beyond 500 yards, it just put it up on infinity there, even out at 1,000 yards, and it kept me parallax free. So not only does the parallax setting work, but it's precise as well. Now for you ELR shooters, I wanted to show you what it looked like through the scope at 1 mile. So if you look at the center of your screen there, just barely above absolute center, little tiny white targets out there at 1 mile. So there's what they look like through the scope on 5x, and there's 1 mile on 25x, and I have no clue what size any of those targets are out there. So here's those few 1,000-yard shots that I took. I didn't have enough time and ammunition to get it completely dialed in for 1,000, so I was just basically winging them out there. But so while I did not get any hits, I don't think, every single one was very close. So if I had more time and ammo to spend to get it dialed completely in at 1,000, could have got a bunch of hits, I'm sure. But anyway, here's those few shots for anyone who wants to see it. First shot, low and left by just a few inches. Second shot, just high by a couple inches. Third shot, just literally off the right edge by about an inch. Oh my god. This fourth and final shot here, it's just so hard to tell. It either, best that I can tell, it either went just under the bottom edge of it or it was a hit. Because you can't hear it or even really see it move it at 1,000, at least not with this cartridge when you get a hit. Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to tell with it being so pixelated from being zoomed in so far. But like on the previous outing, basically whenever you didn't see it kick up dirt, we just kind of concluded that was a hit. The little 25 cal just doesn't really have enough power all the way out there to see it or hear it. But just as a quick reference, this is a very difficult shot out here at 1,000 yards. Like I said previously in the video, this day, because it was so cold, my fingers were numb. I was averaging 1-inch groups at 100 yards. Usually I do better, but that 1-inch group at 100 yards all the way out at 1,000, that translates to a 10-inch group at best. And that's only a 12-inch plate. So just the group size alone is very close to not hitting the plate. And with this particular load, just a 1 mile an hour breeze from the wind moves the bullet almost an entire foot out there at 1,000 yards. So if it goes from a 1 mile an hour breeze to a 2 mile an hour, then all of a sudden your point of impact shifts 10 inches, 11 inches. Or if you go from a light 2 mile an hour breeze and then all of a sudden it kicks up to 6 miles an hour, then you're talking missing the target by several feet. So it really does take a lot to get these hits all the way out here at 1,000, at least with the cartridge I'm using. So considering I didn't have time and ammo to really dial it in, I actually did really well out there at 1,000, getting so close to it with every shot with what very few tries I had. If that target out there was a man-sized silhouette, every single one of those would have been hits. As for the scope itself, final thoughts, absolutely blown away. I think you'd be very hard-pressed to find a better scope for the same price, unless maybe you absolutely, for some reason, had to have locking turret caps. Like I said, with this having, of course, you see all the marks and the numbers on the side, and it's not only re-zeroable, but it has the zero stop, as I mentioned earlier in the video. So, it only takes like a second or two to look up and make sure that you're still zeroed. Plus, you have the zero stop. So, if you're concerned if you bumped it and they moved or anything like that, you just look up and make sure she's still on the number 0 there, and then it's good to go. So, personally, with a zero stop, I don't think you need locking caps, but that would be the only feature I could see personally that somebody might want that this doesn't have. But yeah, for the price of this thing, I think you'd be very hard pressed to find something better. I'm absolutely blown away what you get at this price point, and it's freaking crystal clear, even clear out to a mile, just like I showed you guys. So everything seems to be precise and accurately represented. Tight tolerances, no play between the clicks on either dial. It's obviously held 0 for me. Tracking, as I said, it's supposed to be very precise, less than a 1% difference, and also lifetime warranty. And then obviously, as you saw, I had no problem hitting my targets every time I had to adjust it up for each additional 100 yards, and I was getting hits. So, and there was a little wind adjustment in there too. So if you're looking for something in this class, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I honestly feel like it performs as something that's twice as expensive as what this one is. So if you're interested in it, want to know more about it, or want to know where to get it, link in the description. Also, don't forget, I have the original review video of this rifle linked in the description as well as that 1,000-yard video I kept mentioning. It's the very first time I ever tried to shoot 1,000 yards, and it was with this gun with a cheaper, less capable scope up there, and still made it happen and got some shots at 1,000 yards. But I went in a little more detail in that video about like everything that can affect the shots out there at 1,000 yards. Acting like I know something, even though it was my first time out, which this only makes the second time I've ever been at this range and shooting beyond 500 yards. So, but hey, anybody that made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you on the next one.